We are in chapter 31, the sayings of King Lemuel. Lemuel is probably not a Hebrew, so he must have been a wise foreigner. So there are some of us wise foreigners. Well, I'm saying I'm wise? I don't know. King Lemuel here, this is chapter 31, the epilogue of which is the wife of noble character, very famous section, and we'll finish it off. But for now, we'll just do the sayings of King Lemuel, just 9 verses. The sayings of King Lemuel, an oracle his mother taught him. O my son, O son of my womb, O son of my vows, do not spend your strength on women, your vigor on those who ruin kings. It is not for kings, O Lemuel, not for kings to drink wine, not for rulers to crave beer, lest they drink and forget what the law decrees, and deprive all the oppressed of their rights. Give beer to those who are perishing, wine to those who are in anguish. Let them drink and forget their poverty and remember their misery no more. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and needy. So the sayings of King Lemuel are advice for a king. How should you be different from the peasantry? You have been put into a position of authority. You have grown into this position from birth, and supposedly you've had a noble life. What does it mean to have a noble life? And it begins, says the mother, it begins, she says, to the son of her womb, to the son of my vows, her marriage vows, her vows to her husband. This precious child that she has spent her life in order to bear and to bring into the world and to train. Well, since this is the son of her womb, the son of her vows, he's going to be kind of the outcome of all that she has done. Now, we in today's world don't like to look at it. We know that women have value and are equal in value before God. We don't want to say that the purpose of a woman is just to have children. But here that's basically what the mom says her greatest purpose was, to bear a king, to bear her son. And so she wants her son to give honor back to her, to reflect upon how well she raised him to live a life which shows his character, that he was brought up to know the Lord. Okay? So, son of my womb, son of my vows, do not spend your strength on women, your vigor on those who ruin kings. So don't become a skirt chaser. This isn't against a good marriage, but this is against the profligate seeking after of ladies due to lust and those energies. When I hear don't spend your strength upon women, your vigor on those who ruin kings, I think of King Henry VIII, the Tudor king, and his 6 wives, right? It seems like so much of his kingdom now is looked back on, and all we think about are how he pursued and sometimes killed the women whom he married. And he had many other women that he pursued, other children who were not, in wedlock. And many kingdoms have been destroyed by having children outside of wedlock. Many relationships and kings have been destroyed by seeking after women who are not their own. We have the famous story of the Trojan War, where obviously everyone was after Helen of Troy, and when she's stolen away willingly, but stolen away nonetheless by over to Troy, that causes this 10-year war, which destroys Troy and basically helps cause a lot of damage to Greece too. So the mother here is saying, don't focus yourself on this profligate, extravagant looking about for all these women, because they ruin kings. You find a woman who supports you, a woman who is in service with you to God. When you find such a woman, which the later part of this chapter will speak of, when you find such a woman, then your reign is made greater, right? And things become good and simple, and simple may not be the right word, but they become so that you can seek good things easily. So seek after the one good wife. Don't seek after all the mistresses and all the things that are offered as pleasures to kings. And normally, notice the vigor. Normally this happens when you're young and when you can do a lot, and it takes up your time and your effort and destroys your vigor. Moving to 4, well, do we want to mention that for us who are not kings? Still applies. So I'm a pastor. I am married to a beautiful wife. I do spend some time and energy on her, and I should, and that is good. But I seek after no other women, and that is also good. That would certainly destroy my pastorate. I wouldn't have the energy, number one, but number two, it would just be evil. So don't do that. Give honor. My mom, I'm sure, takes pleasure in the fact that her 2 sons both are married to one woman, and we will stay married to that one woman till death do us part, and that one woman will be the center of our attention. And so I may not have the world's greatest vigor, but what I have, I can focus where God means it to be focused. 4, the don't get drunk bits. It is not for kings, O Lemuel, not for kings to drink wine, not for rulers to crave beer, lest they drink and forget what the law decrees, and deprive all the oppressed of their rights. All people at this time pretty much drank alcohol. You'd have probably had to have been, making a vow not to drink alcohol in order to not drink alcohol. But what she's talking about here is excessive drinking, focused on drinking, becoming a wine snob, a beer connoisseur. There's nothing wrong with enjoying beer and enjoying wine. There's nothing wrong with the king having it with his meals at appropriate time or at celebrations. But it can't become the focus of his reign, because if he gets lost in his drink, in his alcohol, as she notes, you're going to forget your laws, your rules. Number one, because alcohol can befuddle the mind. When taken in excess, it does that. Number two, because the energies of a king, your vocation, are different from the vocation of what comes next. Let's read what that says. Give beer to those who are perishing, wine to those who are in anguish. Let them drink and forget their poverty and remember their misery no more. We have hospice care where we give people opiates sometimes and other drugs because they have reached a point in life where that's appropriate. Medical marijuana, I think, is in the same category. People who are suffering, and the suffering is taking them away from their vocation. And the suffering is more than they should have to handle. And so their pain is alleviated. Their sorrows are somewhat taken down by the use of these drugs. And alcohol is a drug. Here, the Queen is saying, look, alcohol does have good purposes. When drunk in small amounts or at parties, it can enliven the spirit, enliven the party. But when drunk in excess, it could certainly dull the senses and dull the mind. And sometimes that's necessary. In the old days when they were pulling teeth, they'd get you drunk because you didn't want to feel the pulling of the teeth. So this would numb it. And she said, no, that's for the peasants. You king, you're living in a delight. You have much to do. You need to focus on the task God has given. There's more than enough. And drinking to forget things is not something you've been given to do. You have the necessity to keep your mind clear, to keep your mind sharp, to keep your memory going, so that you can do what God has given you. You can rule over your kingdom righteously and according to God's design. Which leads to the final part of this sayings of King Lemuel. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly, defend the rights of the poor and needy. That the particular focus of those who rule is those who are in greatest need. If you're a parent and you have multiple children, the one you spend most of your time and effort on is the ones who have the greatest needs. So my wife and I have a special needs son. He's going to get a lot of our energy and time. It's not that we forget the others and don't care for them, and sometimes we need to focus on them because we're spending so much energy on our special needs son. But as a king, you look to those who are in greatest need, and you particularly make sure you care for them. Those who are strongest, those who are most capable, need the least care, and they're able to bring it to your focus if they need that care. But those who are poor and destitute probably can't. And so you intentionally make sure that they receive care that is good, care that hopefully raises them up out of that condition. We will stop there, and next time we're going to talk about the wife of noble character. Sometimes my wife goes, how can I match up to this? So we'll talk about that too next time.